How's it going, guys? Will here. So it's a pretty nice sunny morning. I've just been for a walk, as we saw, and it's now officially spring, aka one of the best seasons for photography. And I know we're all staying at home at the moment. However, this doesn't mean that we can't do any photography. I've done iPhone photography challenges on this channel before, but today, seeing as the weather's so nice, I thought I'd do one from my home. How this is gonna work is I'm gonna go around my garden, look for signs of spring, and if I think it's gonna make an interesting photo, I'm just gonna take one. Then, of course, as usual, we are going to be taking it into editing, and I'm going to be providing you some tips on how you can get creative in your own home. And if you live in the southern hemisphere, then technically I think it's your autumn now. So you guys are going to also have some really cool photo opportunities. Yeah, we should all be staying in our own homes, but this doesn't mean we can't get some amazing photos. But first of all, I'm going to wait probably about 4 hours. All right, so now it's around 5 o'clock. The sun is nice and low in the sky, meaning we get really nice soft shadows. And yeah, let's go take some photos. By the way, what do you guys think of this room? I'm thinking about starting to shoot all my videos in here. Definitely gonna have to decorate it though. Okay, let's go take some photos. There's a wasp. So my first tip is that you make use of this gorgeous golden hour light. It only comes once a day, or if you live in the UK, probably once a month. Doesn't get sunny a lot here, and it can genuinely transform your photos. And this is all to do with shadows. For example, if you're shooting at like 1 PM, then the sun is fairly high in the sky, meaning you're getting harsher shadows, and in turn, less dynamic range. This is because, as I've said before, phone sensors are pretty small, and if you're exposing for the sky like I recommend, chances are you are gonna lose that shadow detail. But in golden hour, you got a lot more leeway. Another way you can increase your dynamic range is by enabling HDR on your phone. Now, I would recommend checking if your phone has HDR and how well it does it. I'm personally on the iPhone 10 and I think it handles HDR wonderfully, but it's worth checking in to see how well the HDR works on your phone. All right, so let's take our first photo. See, this way we just have so much more detail to work with. We can get the shadows in, we can get the highlights in, and then we can snap our photo. Ah, it's bright. First shot. Done. To ensure correct exposure and focus, I recommend using the AE log. Now, this is a pretty common tool on mirrorless cameras like this. Chances are your phone probably has it too. To activate it on mine, I know you tap and then you hold, and there we go. Both our exposure and our focus is locked, so if you want to pinpoint it, this is a good way to do it. My next tip, where possible, is to shoot with a tighter focal length. Seems kinda underexposed. Hold on. So this tip is more or less specific to shooting in a smaller space, but it's one I use when actually shooting these videos all the time. Shooting on a tighter focal length generally means that there's going to be less in your frame. And essentially because of this, through creative use of this tool, you can make one environment look like multiple. For example, as I said, we're currently in my shed. I'm going to show you, this is the jankiest setup. So it could either look like this, or it could look like this. And I've barely moved. I've literally just tilted the camera to this direction. Completely different look. Well, it's not completely different, they're both sheds. Through creative use though, you can get a lot more out of a limited environment. As I said, I like to use this in my tech videos. Say I filmed this phone in a corner of my house in my last video. For the next video, I might use that corner again, but I might shift some things around, might switch up the focal length, and just by following those 2 steps, you can get a completely different look. Yeah, that's one of my favorite tips, especially good if you're working in a limited environment. Now, let's get at this shed. I kind of want to get some better lighting. This is not good. Furthering this, if your phone has some kind of fake background blur, on mine it's portrait mode, might be different for your phone though, then situations like this might be a good time to try it out. I personally don't use mine all that much, but when I was taking photos of the bluebells and the daffodils, I did end up using it and I was pretty pleased with the results. It gave this nice blurred out background look, isolated the subject, and overall just made it look better. And my final tip for this one is to shoot season specific. As I said, my examples earlier were bluebells and daffodils, but it might be different depending on where you live. I mean, it kind of makes sense. If you want your photos to look unique, photograph something unique. Again, these are only tips. There's no specific way to do this. All right, so let's take some photos. Okay, so that was supposed to be the last tip. However, I had an idea to do some inside photography. So I got this photo magazine the other day, and inside came sort of this pack of cards, and one of them was a photo of an old toy car. So I went and I found this car. I think this is a model M3. Yeah, that is an old M3. That's right. North borders. So then I went to my windowsill and I set up this little makeshift set. We got a good amount of light coming in from the windowsill, and as we saw on this photo card, they did it in sort of a similar way. And so to get this white background, I'm actually going to be using this speaker grill. So we're just going to try and set this up in a nice way. That could actually look quite good. I wasn't actually expecting this to be good. I was expecting this more to be like a fun throwaway shot, but I mean, let's roll with it. Right, so with this one, I think we are going to go with the portrait mode we do on that up close shot, and hopefully, I think we're actually going to try out the studio light preset this time. All right, I think we got it. I am gonna have to brighten it up in post. That's nothing that I can't do in Lightroom though. And yeah, that was actually pretty good. Okay, so now that I've done the final edit, it's not exactly all that great, to be honest. I definitely think I could have done more with this photo in desktop Lightroom, because then I'd have access to masks, graduated filters, all that good stuff. But yeah, for a quick photo and a mobile edit, pretty fun. Okay, so now let's take a look at what I did to the photos in post, and then of course we're going to be taking a look at the final results. So the first photo I edited was of this blossom, a shot in portrait mode, which I think did a pretty good job. I mean, we can see around the edges there are some bits that didn't get blurred out, but to be fair, for fake background blur, this is about as complex as the situation can get. So I'm actually quite pleased with that. For this one, I followed a fairly standard workflow: add a preset, adjust the colors, crop it, and then that was it. Yeah, very basic edit on this photo, but I do like those orangey tones in the blurred out background. Yeah, overall, while this definitely wasn't my favorite photo, I do still like it. Next up, we have another portrait mode photo, and this was of the lavender. I spent a bit more time cropping this one. I wanted to get it just right, so no overexposed spots were showing. I did want that blurry foreground and background, but I didn't want to give up too much free space, so cropping this thing took significantly longer than it did with most of the others. Next up, I went through and I added a preset. Now, this one was from the Peter McKinnon pack. I added the avatar preset, cooled it off slightly, changed up the exposure, and added a little bit of sharpening. And there we go. There's the finished photo. I really liked how this photo came out. I think the colors look really nice, because I personally like to go with slightly colder styles when I'm color grading. However, never underestimate the power of a warm color grade, especially in golden hour. Now, I personally didn't think it would work because of the purple and the lavender, but honestly, this might be my favorite one. With this one, I think the portrait mode did a fantastic job. There aren't any overly sharp edges or things in focus that shouldn't be. And yeah, overall, as I said, I really like how this one turned out. Next up, we have these blades of grass. Now, this was a weird one. For this one, I didn't actually use a preset. Instead, the first thing I did was a pretty dramatic straightening. After this, I decided I wanted a widescreen crop. So that's exactly what I did. After this, I went into the color mix, used the targeted mixer, and dragged down the saturation of those highlights. Next up, I swapped into the hue mode, shifted those greens a little bit more towards the blue side of things, and after that, I desaturated it. Honestly, those bluish greens desaturated, they look incredible. I always like to do that. Sometimes this can be a bit of a destructive process. You can end up losing a little bit of detail or introducing some noise, but usually, as I think it was in this case, it is very much worth it. After this, I just went through tweaking those highlights again, added some sharpening, and ended up with this. Yeah, I really like this one. And finally, for the ones that I actually edited, I did go with another lavender one, and this is because I wanted to challenge myself with this edit. There were a couple of things wrong with this photo when I first took it, so I wanted to take the opportunity to really try and fix it in post. Okay, so first of all, I ended up fiddling around with the crop a lot because a significant portion of this photo was overexposed. The main challenge with this crop was trying to make sure that we didn't get too much free space at the top, but we got rid of that overexposed element in the bottom. After going through and actually changing my aspect ratio, I did eventually get a crop that I was satisfied with. Nice amount of free space in the background, but I have removed the majority of that overexposed element. After this, I did go and add another preset. This time I used the Kodak Summer preset, and honestly, I don't really use this preset that often. However, I really liked how it rendered the greens and the purples in this photo. It also did desaturate those browns in the background, which I think looks incredible. Again, I did use portrait mode for this one. I think this one is probably my favorite use of portrait mode. I do really like the isolation, and I thoroughly enjoyed editing this photo. All right, guys, so that's it for today. I know this has definitely been an unorthodox video for this channel. However, I've started my review process for the next phone. I'm gonna have lots of content like that coming soon, and hopefully this video is actually useful. It's always good to stay creative, even if that's just around your house. All right, guys, so that's it from me today. As always, thank you for watching. Remember to like the video if you want to see more content like this, and smash that subscribe button. I'm done for now, and I will see you guys in the next one.